When do you know it's time to change your hiking style, and what does that even mean? Join me as we dive into this topic, which is another episode in the How To Hiking Series playlist. Hi, I'm Jenny and I'm dedicated to adventure.
Asking me if I could do a few videos to talk more about my planning, because there's so much that goes into a hike plan. You know, there's things to consider like the hiking style. What style do you like to hike in, or what sort of rhythm? And then of course there's selecting a region and planning out how many hikes you would like to do in that overall national park, for example, or region. And then there's things like the planning aspects, the logistical planning aspects of researching and working out how you're going to hike, where you're going to hike, what the terrain's going to be, what sort of gear you're going to need to suit those particular hikes on that trip or trips. And then there's also the aspects of safety. What sort of gear are you going to carry to help yourself to be safe? What sort of management tools are you going to be using to ensure that you keep that risk down? And today I'd like to talk a little bit about my hiking style, because let's face it, my hiking style probably is a lot different to most people who hike. And you know, I remember, if I go back to all of my lifetime actually of hiking before 2011, I'll admit that I'm definitely type A, and all of my lifetime I've spent my hikes being intensely curious about what's over the next hill, what's at the summit, what does the tarn shelf look like, you know, what does the rainforest looks like, you know, what sort of wildlife am I going to encounter, and botany and all that sort of things. But the main object of that hiking style was to get from point A to point B as far as I possibly could, to see how far can I actually get in one day and then return. And that was all really fine back then, but now I'm a bit older and circumstances have changed, and you know, why might you consider changing up your hiking style? Well, you might be anywhere in your 30s and above, and you might be managing an injury at the moment, but you still want to get out there and hike and enjoy nature. You might be not fit at the moment, and yet you know, so you still want to get out there and hike, but your fitness isn't quite where you would hope it would have been. Perhaps you've got an aspect of your planning wrong, and so therefore you have to adapt and change your hiking style to suit your current fitness. You might be, say, a little bit older, you know, around the age of 40. Quite often a lot of us start becoming aware of niggling issues in our own bodies, like our knees and hips and ankles and feet, and heaven forbid lower back, like I have. You know, or you could be in a more of a serious health category, someone who has a serious medical condition going on, of any type, and that could be anything from a heart condition, or being diabetic, or in my case, permanently disabled with spinal cord injury, no sensation in my feet, and chronic pain. And did you know that 1 in every 5 Australians suffers from chronic pain? So, you know, when you're in that situation, or any of those situations, it makes sense to sort of reflect, well, how can I get out and really enjoy the landscape, enjoy our national parks and our wilderness areas, do it safely, absolutely, but doesn't that make sense that I'm going to need to change my hiking style, because my body isn't going to be able to hike as far as I possibly can in one day at a great rate of knots, going over different terrains, you know, hurrying along. That ups the injury risk, and you know, I don't want that. But for me, so there's that aspect. What am I capable of? What's safe for me? But my main goal is to enjoy the heck out of the hike. So my whole thing about hiking is to enjoy the experience, to be really immersed in nature. And I know everyone hypes on about having an immersive experience, and I'm one of those hikers because that's what I absolutely love doing it. But if you don't know what that is, or if you're moving towards doing that, think about some of the other things that you might really enjoy in life. Now, they might be something like drawing. It could be photography. You know, I'm passionately excited and into photography as a hobby. I also love journaling, and a lot of people do these days. You know, there's nothing stopping you while you're on a hike and you're sitting at a summit, or you're sitting below a summit, or near a charm shelf, or in a beautiful rainforest, and just sitting there, perhaps with your iPhone, or you might have a little pocketbook, but I like to work from my iPhone, and sit there, and a few thoughts come to you when you're hiking, when you're in a peaceful setting and your mind's nice and calm, and you start thinking about things. You're thinking about what you're seeing and the landscape around you, and the condition of the landscape, and how you're feeling about the experience and what you're getting out of it. So it might be a good time to sit there and just jot down a few things, or record some things, you know, have a bit of a chat to yourself while you're hiking. Record some thoughts if you don't want to sit there and write it out on the iPhone. Then there's the botany. A lot of us are really interested in the botany. You know, it might be flowers, it might be the green moss, it might be particular trees that you really love. It could be the actual geology of the rocks and their formation, and it could be the actual landscape, you know, the mountains and the shape of the mountains and the cliffs and all that sort of thing. When you change your hiking style to slow it right down, so that you have the opportunity to really take in what's happening around you, feeling the weather on your face, and how does the forest smell, and what are you seeing, and you know, what is the condition of that track, and how does it change during that hike. When you're slowing down, you have the opportunity to see so much more detail in that landscape, and then appreciate all of that detail. So there's lots of reasons why you might want to change your hiking style. The outcome of that, of course, means that you're going to be going on a shorter distance. So for me, I might miss out on 20% of what I would have achieved before, covering less distance, but having a far richer experience in what I'm seeing and smelling and feeling and experiencing overall. And for me, I love documenting everything. You know, I think there's something about, if you have a serious health condition, or if you know that your hiking time is limited, I think that flips your brain into really finding great value in documenting the experience. Because with people, for example, with chronic pain, or people who struggle in whatever areas of their life, or people who live really busy lives and they're working endlessly long hours, when you're having those tough times, it's wonderful to be able to sit back and watch a few of the videos that you've shot yourself, and all of the photos that you've shot. You know, for someone with disability, it's good hard evidence. The experience stays in my heart forever. But sometimes it's not bad to have those videos, to see the joy on my face, to hear what I'm experiencing, to see what I'm experiencing, to look at those photos. Sometimes that can get you through some rough times in your life. And so changing your hiking style from a very quick point A to point B, how far can I possibly get one day, to just stepping it back by say 20%, gives you a richer experience. Hiking styles, let's talk about time of day. Now for me, I need to be hiking from about dawn through sunrise on, and my aim is to get back on most hikes by lunchtime. Now there's a few reasons for that. Number one, let's face it, for me it's pain. My pain builds as I go through the day, so the earlier I get out, the more easier it will be to manage the pain and to walk safely. And then of course there's the photography aspect. that's wonderful in the early morning light and through sunrise. There's another advantage if you're thinking about hiking with peace of mind and having a really calm mind and giving you that ability to really focus on what's happening on your hike. Then if you're hiking quite early, then let's face it, there's far less chance that you're going to see hardly anyone on the track for the first few hours. And in that first, say, 2 to 3 hours of your hiking day, you can explore so much. You get the full experience of what nature has to offer you when you're doing that with fewer people interacting you. It allows your mind to be very calm. So anyway, that's a little bit about my hiking style. Next time we're going to talk about more of the planning, but why don't you think about your hiking style? I'd love to hear what you really enjoy and how you really enjoy hiking, and let's start a conversation. Take care. Bye for now.